Greetings, Main Street. This is Ryan Mack, president of Main Street, and we have with us Richard Mack, partner of Miller, Cohen and Associates. And I got to tell you, this is a great story. We had a strong decision that just came out with breaking news with Richard Mack, over $400,000 decision against United Electrical Contractors for basically a violation of civil rights. Richard, tell us about this decision and tell us about this enormous victory that you all just accomplished for Miller Cohen.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Ryan. And in January of 2022, we went to the federal courthouse and we told the world about, at that time, it were 6 plaintiffs who were going through some of the worst, egregious, racist acts, even sexist acts that you could think of. Things like, the use of the N-word weekly. Mexican-American worker, being called all the wetbacks, spit, you name it. He was called it. Not just by, and what made it so bad is you see that sort of thing happen from time to time, but he was called that not just by his coworkers, but by his supervisors, the people who are responsible for, making sure that he had a safe work environment. So can you imagine that?
So the people at United Electrical Contractors had supervisors saying egregious and racist statements to the people that were working for them.
Yes. Or the supervisor would say it, they would laugh about it when it was said. In one instance, this black man had the N-word written on his hard hat. And you got to wear a hard hat when you work in the construction. He had the N-word written on the hard hat, and they wouldn't give him a new hard hat. So he wore that same hard hat for a week.
So this is
with the same word written on it. This
didn't happen in 1975. This happened this year you're talking about.
This happened in the 2020s, the 2019s, the 2021. And other managers, foremen, telling their workers, go back to your slave ship, boy. I'll put my whoop out on you. Go to your plantation, and all sorts of racial epithets against black and brown people, black and brown workers not being trained the same way that the white workers being trained. Black and brown workers had to walk to the job site when the white workers got rides in the company truck, just over and over and over again. So, being told to do the menial tasks, things like shoveling. They're working as electrical workers, but you're doing some of the grunt work when the white workers get to sit around and watch you do it day after day after day after day. And when they complained, they were laughed at or, moved to a worse location. And then finally, all of them got fired.
Wow.
Because of their complaint.
So they had to go through egregious commentary every day, wearing helmets where they had racial epithets written on the helmets, not getting rides. And when they actually made a complaint, they got fired from the job, not in 1975, but in 2019, 2021.
That's right. That's right. And when they went to complain, they were told, suck it up. I didn't put you here to complain. I put you here to work. Just deal with it. Or don't worry about him. And then they would hear the people who was responsible to taking the complaint, they would be the ones also engaging in the activity. So who are you going to complain to? So we went in the federal courthouse in January of 2022, and thankfully the blessing for these 9 workers is they grew to 9 because once we came out with the lawsuit, others started joining us and said, well, I also had this happen to me. I had this happen to me. So the company fought, and to their credit, the National Action Network was front and center. Reverend Charles Williams, the statewide director, was just a fierce advocate. He went to Lansing, he went to Flint, he went to Midland, he went all over the state chasing this company, telling them that you're going to stop allowing these racist acts to continue.
So I know in the process of them fighting, the other side is going to say, well, the quality, did they bring up any arguments in the suit? And I want you to talk about the actual judgment in a second. but did they bring up any quality of work? Because that's usually the defense in saying that the quality of work was not up to par. That's why they got fired. Is that the reason why the company fought as hard? Or were those some of the complaints that the company was using to say to justify firing those 9 workers?
Sure. I mean, yes, they did say that, but then you would ask them during these depositions that we took 22, 23 depositions in the case. You'd ask them, well, why didn't you write any of these problems down? All of your evaluations said he was doing great. Where are these problems now? Just when he started complaining. How come you didn't have any problem with his work performance before he started complaining? Well, yeah, I just didn't write it down, but I saw it. I sure thought about it. Oh, but you didn't say anything about it. Oh, no, I didn't say anything about it. Oh, okay. You didn't start saying anything about it until they started complaining about your racism. That's the problem. And that was the problem. Person after person after person after person. They came up with these reasons to fire them, but the reasons they fell apart because they weren't the reasons to fire them. It actually was the real reason was because they didn't want Black and brown people in the company in the first place. And when they got them, they decided that, we're going to get rid of them because they're not willing to play along and let us use the N-word.
Talk a little bit about the actual judgment and exactly how the judgment was filed, because you're saying this is not a settlement, this is a judgment, you said.
Yeah, so what happens is there's a process when you are facing litigation as a defendant. There's a process where you can make what's called an offer of judgment, where you can throw your hands up, literally, say, hey, I'm not defending this. In this case, is what the United Electric Contractors did. I accept liability for what you said happened in the complaint. I accept responsibility, legal responsibility for it. I will allow a court of law to enter a judgment against our company to basically agree that we are responsible legally for what you said in your complaint, and I'm going to pay you $431,000 to the plaintiffs and pay you money for the legal fees on top of that. So that's what ended up happening. And because United Electric Contractors and the plaintiffs accepted that agreement, or that judgment offer, now by virtue of a court of law has declared United Electric Contractors is legally responsible for what happened to those 9 plaintiffs as they laid out in their complaint.
And so, but
so that's how it happened.
These plaintiffs have been fired. Is there going to be any other retribution for these individuals moving forward? Is this the end of the road for them? Or do you see some more legal battles coming to get further damages, maybe punitive damages or a civil case that might be filed moving forward?
No, this is a good question. So for each of these plaintiffs, each of the 9 plaintiffs received different amounts, anywhere from almost $40,000 up to $72,000. So each of them walked away with that amount of money in their pocket. In response to, because of what they went through with the racism and the discharge and the retaliation and all of that. So they do have that, and that will cover the punitive damages, all the rest of that. And the good news for them is that all of them, I think, all of them got new jobs within a couple of months of being fired from UEC. No one had to wait a little longer. Some had to wait as many as 6 to 8 months, but I think 7 of the 9 got jobs within a couple of months of being fired. Mm-hmm. So when that happens, it's good for the person, for the worker, but it obviously reduces the amount of back pay that UEC would owe them because now they're working and actually making more money. Mm-hmm. So they came out on their feet in a sense of the economic harm. Now, obviously, the trauma that they experienced, there's not enough money you can pay someone for that, right? I mean, some of the night sweats that they talked about they went through, some of the times they go, the crying fits and sitting at home. I mean, some of that stuff, the judgment and the money certainly makes it a lot better. but it doesn't make it go away, unfortunately. So,
So what's going to
we have an imperfect system.
It's good that those individuals got their jobs back. Those individuals who were supervisors and the leader of the various company and management who were saying those racial epithets, who were conducting those racial actions, and who put those individuals through so much trauma, are they still working? Will they be fired from their job?
Yes, they're still working. That's what's so amazing. So I'm a company, and I'm agreeing to be held legally responsible by a court of law for these illegal acts against these 9 workers: racism, sexism, discrimination, disability discrimination, discharge, illegal discharge. I'm agreeing to all of that, but I'm not going to fire any of the people who are responsible. So how much retribution do you really feel? And that's really what the purpose of this rally tomorrow is that the National Action Network, again, Charles Williams, to his credit, is asking the same sort of questions you're asking. Like, well, you still got this company, which is a statewide company that is conducting work for various projects throughout the state, but they're still having these racist employees, these racist managers, these racist foremen, these racist supervisors working there, saying the same thing they've been saying, and you're not going to do anything about them. You're going to pay off the victims. Okay. You're going to agree to be held legally responsible by a court of law. Okay. But you're still going to let the other people, the black and brown workers there, the white workers there who don't want to hear that. One of our plaintiffs was a white employee who stood up against the racism, and he got fired because he stood up. So you're going to let those other workers who don't want to hear that still have to be a victim to that racist, harassment and discrimination and all of the rest. So Nan is saying, no, we're not going to let this happen. We're going to go after this company, make sure that they learn the lesson, or that they're not used. Your business is no longer welcome here. If you're going to allow this to continue, admit to it continuing, but then allow the people there who are still going to be there continue to do the same thing they've been doing.
Well, and that rally is going to be tomorrow at 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Yes, for the federal courthouse in Detroit. That's right. 231 West Lafayette Street, federal courthouse, Detroit. I'm open to any and every to come on out, play a part, hear what's going on, shake their hands, and hear the victims tell their stories. It's going to be a great time.
Well, it's 2024, and we're still hearing stories like this. It's a sad thing, but Richard Mack from Miller Cohen is on the case. I want to thank you for your time today, and thank you for taking some time to tell us about at Main Street what's happening.
All right, absolutely, man. I'm sorry I'm in the car. I'm actually leaving another rally with the Postal Workers Union downtown fighting against racism there, too. Man, it's a constant fight, and it shouldn't be, but when we fight, we win.
Richard Mack is on the case. All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, bro.